understand it, but I'm here.
Okay,
How are
Robyn.
you?
So
Where are you?
take the time to talk with us, to chat with us, and
Unfortunately, I've got somebody else. I've got to do another. This is extremely difficult because I don't know how this works. And I can
what?
only do this with the help of Emma. I have somebody else in 20 minutes that I couldn't do this. This is too difficult technologically. I don't understand it. So I'm sorry, and I
Okay,
don't do this in public. I'm right here with my cat.
okay,
You got 20 minutes, so whatever you want to know, I'm here.
okay, Robyn. So first of all, sorry for this. We didn't know it was going to be this complicated.
It is,
Okay,
but never mind. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So, but we want to talk about your book,
Oh, yeah.
1967.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's
Thank
fantastic,
you.
actually, and we really appreciate that you took the time to write it. I know you write it in your phone. I know it's something that you did late, very late at night.
That's
So
right.
it's impressive. Yeah. So did you always wanted to write a memoir?
No, no, I didn't want to write one at all, but um, uh, it just seemed like it was something that was going to have to happen. So I made it. I just wrote about. I wrote about the 1 year that I thought I could write about successfully without having
Yeah.
to do anything else. You know.
But it's impressive because you say you think it's time that there's a time in your life when you want to pass some of the things that happened to you, some of the memories you have in your mind before one dissolves into into the universe or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. It's the only thing. Well, it's the time that I understood. I understand. It's the time I have the best memory of, and it explains what I did, why I did it.
Yeah, and some of the music you heard right then in 1967 or in the previous year is music that's still with you in the way you perform your songs, you write your own songs, and music like Bob Dylan, like Velvet Underground, like Sid Barrett, like the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. That's when I first heard. Yeah, that's where I come from. That's where I started.
And you never left that year. Why is that you never left that year?
Well, I never had anywhere to go, really. You know, only into the future. And the future is difficult. It doesn't make any sense. Really. Never did.
Why is you think that the future has no sense at all compared to those years?
Well, I think I was spoilt, because I became adolescent. I became a teenager. I had the momentum of adolescence and having that force in me, those hormones, just at the time that the world was coming to a peak.
Yeah, yeah,
Our civilization was coming to a peak, and there was that was it, really. The music was peaking anyway. I don't know. I mean, there's been lots of good stuff since then,
yeah,
but uh, for me, nothing beats that time, just in terms of music and in terms of how I felt. Just, I was probably at my most alive.
yeah.
I'm in the future now. I'm just a ghost, phantasma.
Yeah,
I'm the
oh,
ghost
fantastic.
I'm the ghost of what I was.
Yeah, we'll all be ghosts sometime.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
will.
that's the future. Yeah,
We already are in some ways. Yeah.
yeah. And what's the thing that happened to you when you first heard Dylan singing?
When I first heard Dylan, I can't really describe it. It was like a voice inside me. It was a voice outside that chimed with a voice inside me, and it seemed like he was talking to me personally, which is how everybody felt, you know. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, particularly boys, young men, but some women as well, thought Dylan was talking to them personally, which is what eventually Dylan became insane because of the pressure of that. But it was an extraordinary feeling for everybody. And I remember his birthday. I knew that birthday, I thought May 24, 1967. I wonder where he is. I wish I could send him a birthday card. That was then. I remember looking at the red letterbox and thinking, somewhere is Bob Dylan. But I never knew. I never found out. I never sent him a birthday card.
Wow. Yeah, and you had there in Winchester College, there was a home gramophone.
Yeah,
and you can.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's what you say here in your book, that you used to hear records that some other people had there, and your own records. So you discovered lots of stuff that blew your mind, actually.
It did, because it was just a particular time when minds were there to be blown, and that kind of music arose, you know. I heard things on the gramophone at school, or I heard them on a little tiny radio like that, or a slightly bigger radio. No, I think it was all that the radio that I heard Jimi Hendrix on. That was about that big, you know.
Yeah.
Had a little red dial. It was very quiet.
Yeah, but somehow the music, even if it sounded quieter than now, that the technology was different. It somehow touched your heart, touched your mind.
It did, but that's what happened. You know, I didn't know anything else. I was 13, 14. So it was just what happened then, you know. It was all natural.
And how did you feel when you went to a record shop and you got your first Bob Dylan album, or when your parents gave you your first guitar? Those were key moments.
I felt good, you know. I like I keep saying, I felt I had momentum. I felt like I was going somewhere. And what I was doing was just getting ready to do what I did with the rest of my life. So, you know, which has good things and bad things about it, really. But it just gave me somewhere to go, even though there wasn't really anywhere to go. But, you know, that time doesn't stop just because there's no real destination. You just, you know, the train carries on even if there's no rails.
Yeah. And when you started writing your first songs, what were the first songs that gave you that same feeling of going somewhere else?
I don't think I wrote anything good for about 10 years. So I probably started writing songs in 1970, and I probably didn't write anything good till 79, really. You know, the Soft Boys. So I probably, my first 200 songs were like experiments. They were like when people fire a rocket into space and the astronaut dies, or they put a dog up there and the dog never comes back, the dog dies, or the plane. You know, they were all just things that were fired off into the void.
Yeah.
And then I wrote the songs on Underwater Moonlight in 1979. And they were the first good ones, you know, they were really good. But it took me a very long time to to do anything good. I was just, but there was nothing else I wanted to do. So, you know, I just persisted.
And that album, that particular album, Underwater Moonlight, is that a record that you still feel proud of?
I mean, I like all of the records I've done since then, or I write quite a lot of the songs on. You know, that was the first one. I think all the all the records I made after that had some good songs on.
Mm.
You know, but it just took me a long time to understand how to write a good song.
Mm. And could you express what's that? What are those ingredients that you need in a good song for you?
No, I can't. I can't say. All I can say is when they work, and I don't even know what's the difference between a song that works and a song that doesn't work. You know, I can remember songs I wrote in 1975, and none of them were good. They all had. They were experiments that failed, and then suddenly the experiments began to work.
Mm.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess you could. The only way to do it would be to test them with people,
Yeah.
you know. But if you start, if I started when I started performing those songs, people seemed to actually really pick up on them. You know, they were obviously good songs.
Mm.
You know, I played them with the Soft Boys with the band, but they were just like you could see it working
Mm.
in a way it hadn't. Before that, people would go, "Oh yeah, jolly good, nice," you know. But they
Yeah.
actually seemed to really be into it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the difference was. Like I couldn't tell you, but I sort of got there.
Mm.
It just took a very long time.
Yeah. And what? Well, sadly, I knew that last night, Pat, that he produced some of your albums and the Soft Boys albums. He passed away.
Pat Collier, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Pat
I
Collier.
just found out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sad. He was 72, I think. He had cancer. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but Pat liked those sorts of songs. He liked the kind of 60s type pop. You know, he was around my age.
Mm.
Um, and his father was a policeman, I think. Um, I think Pat trained at Decca Records. I think he might even have trained in the classical recording department. But he was good at putting bouncing tracks down together. Which, if you've only got like a 4-track machine, you have to
Yeah.
put all the vocals on one track and then the bass and drums on one track. You know, you keep bouncing them down. It's not like multi-track mixing. It's more, which is what like the way the Beatles would have recorded. You know,
Yeah.
you had to bounce tracks together. Pat understood that, and he just he was always good to work with. But I hadn't seen him for nearly 20 years. You know, we just were sort of in different places, really.
Mm.
I didn't know he was ill till a couple of weeks ago.
Wow. Yeah, he had a studio somewhere else, and he was in a different part where you were, and
Yeah, he moved
actually,
to South London and into Southeast London, so we just would kind of where I was a long way from where he was,
mm,
so I just never went there.
mm. Yeah, but he was key in the fact that in the sense that you wanted to stay like in the mindset of those years of the years of the Beatles, the early Pink Floyd stuff,
Yeah,
Dylan, that sound, that's the sound that you talk about here.
yeah. He understood that
Yeah,
kind of music, I suppose. Yeah,
yeah. And well, when you started recording your own solo works, those albums were like evolving in different ways. You weren't just like trying to recreate this sound only. You even started publishing your experiments.
well, I
There are
wasn't
albums that sound
exactly.
different.
I mean, yeah, I suppose yeah, I mean, he was good at recreating. He liked the idea of recreating that sound. Sometimes we did it, sometimes we didn't. I mean, we used a sitar on Positive Vibrations on Underwater Moonlight, which was obviously a nod back, you know, to that era. And then he put some phasing on the end of Tonight, which was, your phasing was a very sort of 67. I think there's phasing on the original of Chiku Park. So, yeah, Pat understood the way those sounds worked, yeah.
And I want to ask you about the album that you're going to release soon. That has it 99% covers from this era, from the mid 60s, from 1967. These songs were key at the time for you, or songs that you picked for some other reason?
They were songs I liked at the time, yeah. They were all, most of the songs on that record, apart from the one I wrote recently, and My White Bicycle, which I discovered later. All of the rest of them were songs I knew in 1967. I remember them coming out.
And how does it feel to perform them now?
Well, I've known them all my life, so it's quite easy to sing them. I know all the words. I know the tunes. I'm now an old man singing songs that I heard when I was just a teenager. So I was 70 when I recorded the record, and those songs, I was 14 when they came out. So I'm at the other end of my life. So they're very embedded in me, so it feels very natural. But I also wanted to just do it with acoustic guitar, so it sounds like me and a friend sitting in a room playing them at a party or something, or in a coffee shop, or it feels very informal. And then we just put a few little effects on it, but it's to me they're like folk songs. They're like songs that have always been there, so I made it as a folk record, if you like.
Well, somehow performing them that way, it tells you that the songs work any way you play them. If you have just your voice and your guitar and the song works, it's because it's a good song.
Well, it's a good song. Yeah, I think if it's a good song, you can play it on acoustic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's my definition of a good song. An old song. A good song now, the way people approach music may have changed, but to me, if a song is any good, you can just play it on an acoustic guitar or just on a piano.
You say something like that you write in your book at the very end of the book that maybe the generations now doesn't feel about music the way you used to feel about music at that time. I don't know if that's the way to express it. That
No, I think you're right, Edmundo. That's what I think, but I don't know if it's true. I think that people at 13 and 14, I'm sure they feel as intensely as I did or as you did when you were 13 or 14. But it's not going to. I would be surprised if popular music, what's in the top 20 now, top 30, whether that's songs in there, whether they'll stay with people for the next 50 years, like the stuff I heard back then. But I think the function, what popular music is and what it does, has changed. And one of the special things about 1967 was popular music had a very special function. It wasn't just entertainment or keeping people company. It was actually some kind of special message about life or what life could be. It was just a little capsule of potential, something, but I couldn't say exactly what it was. And then I think not long after that, it went again. It was just this little flash, you know, and that's what all us kind of old people stumbling around, you know, are still kind of, oh, I remember the flash, man, it was over there, whoa, look at it, you know, just like lightning on the horizon, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But, you know, in our old eyes, we remember it. Oh, it's over there somewhere, you know. Maybe it's a myth, maybe it never happened.
Yeah, and it's well, it's music that was written years before I was born, and I think it's music that still has meaning for me, and will still have meaning in the future.
I hope so. I hope so. When were you born?
1978.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to mean anything in 50 years' time, even
Yeah.
50 years' time. I don't think anything. I know. I think we've discussed this before, but you know, even Shakespeare doesn't really have any permanence. People aren't going to understand that. That language is already so old that you need you need a teacher to explain it to you. It's just what's happened, really. It, it just goes, you know. You're just lucky if you're there to see it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Look, I'm afraid I've got somebody else I've got to do. I'm just really jumbled up. I
Okay,
have another
Robyn.
today. This
I
is not
really,
an easy way to access. If you want to do an ordinary Zoom call sometime or something,
okay.
it's a bit. But I can't. It
I
took me.
really appreciate your time, Robyn. I
It's
really
fine.
appreciate your time, and I'm very grateful that you took the time to chat with me, and it's been amazing. And I love your book, and it's fantastic. Okay,
Thanks,
so
Armando.
very really grateful. Hoping you could come to Valparaiso sometime.
Maybe let's see if I go anywhere. But yeah, maybe next time let's do it on the phone. That's easier. I think we did the phone
Okay,
this time, which is easy. I can do that. I got
okay,
to go and talk to these people somewhere in the world
okay.
on
Thanks
some
very much,
piece of
Robyn.
machinery. I'm
Take
very
care,
sorry
and I
about the
really
delay.
appreciate it.
You're
No,
very
no, don't
welcome.
worry. No,
Take
so
care. All
okay.
right.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye,
All the
Robyn.
best to you.
Bye.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bueno, ese era Robyn Hitchcock conversando con nosotros sobre su libro 1967. We have copies for you. Tenemos copias acá en nuestra disquería White Light Records en Reñaca, en el Gran Valparaíso, Chile. Por si quieren alguna, acá están. Hay pocas copias limitadas y este libro es impresionante. Les recomiendo que lo lean porque es un libro donde Robyn Hitchcock se da el tiempo, tal como se dio. Le agradecemos muchísimo que se haya dado este tiempo. Obviamente él no estaba preparado para este tipo de tecnología, dice que no está acostumbrado a conversar por un live de Instagram, pero se dio el tiempo y se lo agradecemos. Sabemos que se complicó, sabemos que fue algo un poco engorroso tratar de conectar con él, pero lo hicimos, se hizo. Y van a poder ver este live después porque va a quedar grabado. El libro es muy bueno, cuenta toda su experiencia en Winchester College, donde estuvo en ese internado durante prácticamente la secundaria, pero prácticamente cuando él llegó al internado entre fines del 66 y 67 fue un tiempo en que le voló la cabeza, fue un tiempo que escuchó el Highway 61 de Bob Dylan, escuchó Bring It All Back Home de Dylan, escuchó Velvet Underground de Nico, escuchó singles de Pink Floyd, obviamente escuchó los Beatles, escuchó Sgt. Pepper, escuchó un montón de records que estaban en un tocadiscos que estaba ahí en el Winchester College, que era el Home Gramophone, donde tenían sus discos los alumnos, los podían escuchar ahí y una música te volaba la cabeza, música que le voló la cabeza a los 14 años, música que sigue llevando en su ADN, música que influyó enormemente en su forma de componer música, en su aproximación a una música. Él dice que cuando una canción funciona en una guitarra de palo, es una canción que funciona. Si la puedes tocar en una acústica, es una canción que va a mantenerse en el tiempo. La música que él escuchó en ese entonces sigue teniendo significado, es una música que la escuchaba en la radio, la escuchaba en un disco, es una música que le decía algo sobre la vida, era una cápsula de potencial. Eso decía él. Muy, muy diferente de la música de ahora. Y bueno, les recomiendo el libro, tiene anécdotas increíbles. Por ejemplo, Brian Eno estaba estudiando en una escuela de arte que quedaba cerca de Winchester College y Brian Eno va a hacer unos happenings al Winchester College. Estamos hablando del año 1967, no existía Roxy Music todavía. Brian Eno va allá, hace unos happenings, conoce a Brian Eno y son cosas que les van a volar la cabeza. Les recomiendo enormemente el libro. Tenemos copias acá. 1967, en el mes de septiembre, sale el nuevo disco de Robyn Hitchcock, que son covers de la música que escuchó en esa época y él las toca en formato acústico exclusivamente. Muchas gracias a todos por conectarse, muchas gracias a todos por su apoyo, muchas gracias a todos por compartir también esto, porque somos una disquería, como les repito, una disquería local, una disquería familiar de acá, de Reñaca, de la quinta región, de Valparaíso, y muchas gracias. ¿Ok? Hasta la próxima. Nos vemos. Gracias a ustedes por conectarse.